Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Success in Sales, Hacks and Chats. And I have a very special guest. We have Jenny joining me today. Jenny, thanks for being a guest on the show.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
No worries. So Jenny was made redundant when she was 6 months pregnant, which doesn't sound great. So when the child was born, she decided to start her own business, opened a laser and skin clinic 6 days after the daughter was born. She's now 2 years old. The clinic is now 2 years old, and she ended up getting one of the top 40 people under 40. So we'll definitely have to dive into that, I think. So Jenny, could you share with us a bit about you? So tell us where you were born and what it was like for you growing up.
Yeah, well, I'm a Belfast girl, born and bred in Belfast, Northern Ireland. A lot of people, I guess, in the past have had a kind of a negative view of Northern Ireland and Belfast, maybe because of what's been in the press regarding the Troubles and all that jazz. But
Mm-hmm.
for me, I didn't really, I wasn't around that. I wasn't a part of that. So it was always strange when people were like afraid to come to the city. Um, but I suppose without realizing it, it influences, your surroundings make you the person you are. So I guess it did have an impact on my life. But it's nice these days to see that Belfast is a really vibrant city. It's a really diverse city. There's a fantastic startup culture. There's an amazing technology sector now, a lot of talent. And there's a really good tourism industry as well. So I love Belfast. I mean, I've tried living other places. I've been around here, there, and everywhere, but this is where I've made my home, and this is where I've made my business and my career.
Right, cool. So what was your education like? Did you spend any particular time studying or not?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess I did the traditional thing that a good girl does, and I was a bright child, and so I did my GCSEs and I did my A levels, and I went off to university, the way that you're told to do, and I graduated with a degree in computer science, which at the time I was like, great, I'm going to earn loads of money, I'm going to be a coder, this will be awesome. So tootled off to England, to Kent, and got a lovely job, very good job, coding, programming. Quickly realised after a few months that actually I really didn't enjoy it, and I mean I could do it and I was good at it, but it wasn't making me happy. So I always had this notion in the back of my head that I wanted to do something in music. Anyway, I came back to Belfast after living in the gorgeous Tunbridge Wells, and I ended up running a restaurant actually for a while, and through
Right.
that kind of fell into events and putting on events and managing events. Eventually decided, okay, I'm going to give this a go legit and set up a promotions company, knowing nothing about it, but sure. People kept asking me to do things and I kept saying yes. So I was running events in the music industry and helping out local bands, helping out local artists to kind of just make more of what they could do. I'm not musically talented in that way. I can't get up on stage and sing or play an instrument or write a song, but what I can do is facilitate others to do it. So I found that I was really good at that actually. And I ended up having this business in the music industry, promoting people for about 8 years, and it grew and grew. And over time, people said, could you manage my band? Could you put up my record? Could you do X, Y, Z? So as I got more confident in the industry and as I met more people, I did do all those things, and I ended up doing a lot of tour management. I ended up doing a lot of artist management, artist development. I did run a record label for a while as well. That job took me all over the world. It was amazing. Um, yeah, so I did that for a long time. I learned a lot of things. Then I had friends in the startup world who basically they could see what my talents were, and they convinced me that I should go work for them. So I went back to technology for a while, and that was interesting. Learned a lot there too. But now I do something completely different. again.
Well, I was kind of trying to figure out what sparked the change, because you mentioned that you fell into restaurants and then to
Yeah.
events, which seems to make sense a little bit, because restaurants sort of have like themes and events, and they have things on to to get people into the restaurant kind of thing, almost like a hotel does with weddings. They put events on so that they stay at the hotel, or in your case, so that they spend time at the restaurant and buy drinks or food or whatever. So it kind of made sense. And then in the music industry, okay, with concerts and things, okay, that sort of made sense. But what sparked the startup? I mean, and I know you mentioned in the bio that you got pregnant and you had your daughter. So, like, was that the main catalyst for that, or was there something else?
Well, that came later. I mean, I think because I was kind of entrepreneurial and kind of interested in business, just friends of mine who had a technology startup, and their investment came through from Silicon Valley, and they were looking for a biz dev person. And so I went and worked for a couple of people first, but I think I just got kind of, after a couple of years of working for other people, I realized that I needed to go back to doing my own thing. It just, every time I tried to work for someone else, it didn't quite gel. It didn't quite do what it needed to do for me. So when I was, when I thought I was in a good job, when I thought I was secure, and I said, okay, go buy a house, get pregnant, and then that job fell apart as well, and I was made redundant. I was like, do you know what? Okay, forget this. I just have to go back to doing my own thing. And I felt like I needed to do something different. And I had another friend who was a laser specialist, and she'd always wanted to have her own clinic. So we said, okay, let's do this. Let's do our own thing. And completely, I don't know, naively is probably the wrong word, but when I was looking for work, and I have all these skills and all this experience in all these different industries, and these recruitment agencies kept saying to me, we can't place you, we can't find a job for you. You've studied accountancy, but you're not an accountant. You've run a business, but you're not you're not doing this, you're not doing that. You're not a lawyer, you're not an accountant, you're not. It's like they couldn't put me in their boxes. And I'm saying, but I can pretty much do anything that you give me to do. I can do the accounts, I can do the sales, I can do the marketing, I can build the website. You can put me in any box and I'll make it work. So I just thought, no one's going to give me a job. Fine, I will do it myself. So that's what sparked it. And I thought, I need to be back in control of my own destiny. If I continually rely on other people, they're going to either let me down, or they're going to do something, they're going to push me in a direction I don't want to be. So it felt like, although I was 6 months pregnant and had just bought a house, it was like, I just have to do my own thing. I have to start my own business. And people did think I was bonkers, but for me, it felt like the safest thing to do rather than a crazy thing. It sounds crazy, I know.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but was there a moment when can you actually try and picture the moment when you made the decision? Like, what was running through your mind? What sort of things were coming up for you that made you think, okay, this is the way to do it, as opposed to the other way? I'd imagine you told yourself a couple of things as well, asked yourself a few questions. So break that down for us.
I mean, a big part of it was I trusted Gillian, who's my business partner. She's been working in aesthetics and beauty for a long time. She's immensely talented, and I think she was wasted in the job she was in. And it's like, she deserves to have her own place. She's got all the skills. She's got all the talent. She knows how to treat clients. She knows how to find the right treatments. She knows that industry. I can do all the other shit. I can build the website. I can do the marketing. I can pick up the clients in. I can take care of all the admin and all the boring stuff. So to my mind, it's like, it's the same thing I've always done in all these industries I've been in, all these other jobs. When I was in the music industry, I'm working with these immensely talented songwriters and performers. I can't do that, but I can do all the other boring shit that they don't want to do, and that they can shine on stage. So it's the same situation with Gillian. She knows what she's doing. I just have to let her do it. So when I sort of sat down and I did a little bit of the figures, and I did a little bit of a business plan, and I thought, can I really do this? And I spoke to my husband, and I spoke to my mum, and I was like, okay, I think that I'm going to do this. What do you think? And when they were both positive without hesitation, I went, okay, cool, I can do this. Do you know, I think if they didn't have so much trust in me and they didn't believe in me, I would have maybe questioned myself more. But I thought that I could do it, and when they sort of agreed, I went, perfect, great, okay, this is going to work. And I kind of didn't look back. I think once I made the decision to jump in, if I had listened to the doubts, there was too many. You know, it was like it was too big. The amount of the finance we had to raise and the kind of agreements we had to go into and what we had to do to make this business get off the ground, it was too big. So if we'd had any doubts, it would have been, we couldn't have done it without being 100% on board. So I just had to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to have paid off anyway. I mean, do you think you would have done it if you had have just listened to yourself? Like, if you were doing this by yourself and you had there could have been doubts, you could have been jazzing yourself up as well, you know? Sometimes it's not always negative, but do you think you would have done it if nobody else had the faith in you that you had as well?
I think it would have been more difficult. I mean, I'm definitely not risk adverse, but it's not like I'm a massive risk taker. I don't go out of my way to be difficult or to do crazy things, but I guess I have a sense of you just get on with it and you just do it, do you know? And people think that I'm a big risk taker and all this, but I'm not really. I just try not to let the doubt creep in. I just get on. Things have to be done. You just do them, you know? And sometimes if you do think about it too much, you talk yourself out of things. Or I don't know. I mean, I try and be positive about stuff as well. And I try to always think about the negative or the positive outcomes and not the negatives. You know, there's no point in worrying about things that haven't happened yet. So you could, yes, of course, you could explore all the possibilities of all the things that could go wrong. But why waste your time? Focus on what's going to happen when it goes right. Do you know, when it really got down to it, I had 6 weeks actually. In terms of, it was like, okay, this business is going to happen. It has to open in 6 weeks because that's when I was due to give birth. So it's like I have to get everything ready to go. I have to have the business opened. It has to be ready. I have to do all the setup so that, because I don't know what's going to happen when I give birth. I've never had a baby. I don't know what happens. I don't know how long I'll be out of commission. But at least if the business is up and running, I can do what I need to do to get back on my feet. So it was like I didn't have time to think about it. I just had to do it. It just had to happen.
So do you think there's a real argument then that speed is more important than thinking things through before you act?
Oh, I don't know. That's a tricky one because I don't want to inspire all these people to go out and do really foolish things. I mean, I think it's about taking calculated risks, and I knew what I was getting myself into up to a point. Of course, I didn't know everything, but I knew that I knew that I could do as much as I could do. I knew I had a window there, so I just busted my ass to do as much as I could, to get it up and running. And would I do things differently second time around? Maybe, but I think I did the best I could, and the clinic opened on time, and we're now the #1 clinic in Northern Ireland. Like, it's insane. We've only been open for 2 years, and to have that award, that recognition is just amazing. So yeah, calculated risks, I think, is the answer. I don't know whether that's speed or whether that's thinking it through, but there's a balance somewhere to be struck, I think.
How would you suggest people actually went about these calculations then? Because there are people out there that say, oh yeah, take calculated risks, but then they think about it and then they do it, and to them that is probably like that's like enough calculation, if that makes sense. But then there are people that will say exactly the same thing. They will say, oh, calculated risks, but they could spend weeks and months calculating, and calculating can become, it's almost like procrastination to a certain extent, because you'll say, oh, calculated risks, and they're calculating everything, and they're doing everything and all the planning and all the organisation and doing everything that they can before they act. But there are people out there that say, okay, well, calculated risks, and they calculate it and they do it and they do it and they do it, and they make more progress than somebody else that's that's thinking about things all the time, but yet they'll both say, "Oh well, I'm not risk adverse, and I do make sure I think everything through before I do it." I mean, how do you balance those two, and how would you suggest bridging the gap?
I think you have to, well, there's something to be said about knowing your own limitations, and the smartest people know that they don't know everything. So asking for help and advice, and asking others, asking experts is useful. And timelines and deadlines, setting yourself deadlines. So, I had a very clear deadline, which was you are due to give birth on this date. That there was nothing I could do to move that deadline. People set deadlines and they go, oh, but then there's that stretch. So I'll set myself a goal for the 30th of November. But sure, if it's Christmas, well, it's Christmas. But for me, it was like, no, this baby is coming. There's nothing I can do to stop that process happening. That is going to happen.
Yeah.
So that was quite a big one for me. It was like, yeah, I couldn't procrastinate. The baby was going to arrive. So if you don't have that in your life, maybe you have to just be more strict with giving yourself deadlines, or giving yourself a cutoff point to say a decision has to be made, and this is the date where it has to be made by.
Yeah, it seems, I mean, I know for your own situation, Jenny, it was like, well, this is it, and there's not a lot I can do about it. And you've almost like put yourself in that situation whereby it's now or never, or it's happening then, and you've got no way out, so to speak. And do you think that
Well,
do you think that people give themselves a way out a little bit too easy?
well, I think so. And I think well, I mean, it's scary, when you're diving into the unknown. For somebody that's never, for somebody who's starting their own business for the first time, going out on their own for the first time, really diving into the unknown like that, it is scary because you don't know what's around the corner. And if you're somebody that's always had a wage, that's always had money coming into your bank account at the end of every month that pays your mortgage, that pays your bills, and all of a sudden that doesn't exist anymore, that is really scary for people. My business partner, my current business partner, she went from that. She's always worked. She's always had a wage. She went from that to very much jumping into the unknown. For me, that wasn't as big of a concern, but for her, she's had to overcome that and learn how to reconcile that in her own brain and cope with it, because it's terrifying. It is terrifying. So that is scary for people. So yeah, they do have to weigh it up, and not everybody can reconcile that, I think.
It seems at least that you've come to the other side of it now. I mean, have you got any advice for people that are in the situation that you were in, trying to figure out what to do, start a business or not? Maybe they've had the paycheck and they want to go out and do their own thing. I mean, what advice would you have to those people?
I would say it's not about the money, is my advice. It's about a lifestyle choice. Um, and that's what made the decision for me, was how do I want to live my life? What kind of a life do I want? And for me, it was about having some flexibility. So running my own business gives me the flexibility that I need in my life. Um, I'm able to, up to a point, set my own hours. But, if I need to leave early a day, I can do that. If I want to close for 2 weeks, I can. Not that I would, but I call the shots. And for a lot of self-employed people, I think that flexibility is the reason why they do it, because they can work as little or as much as they want. They can make as little or as much money as they want. I want a nice life, but I don't have ambitions of driving a Bentley home to my mansion. I want to be comfortable. If I want to get a takeaway tonight, or if I want to go out for dinner on a whim, I want to be able to afford to do that. If I want to be able to take a holiday, I want to take a day off to enjoy with my family. I don't feel like these are big asks, but I want to make enough money to support my family so that we're happy. But I don't need all the luxurious trappings that some other people might feel they need. So for me, yeah, it's about finding the work-life balance, and I think that's the advice that I would give people, is think about what's really important in your life, not necessarily just financially. think about the life you want to have, and then, okay, make enough money so you can do that. And that'll usually dictate the type of work or the type of job or the type of business that you'll end up in, whether that's self-employment or not.
It seems like you sort of went through a process of reverse engineering it to a certain extent. So what things were important to you, and then how did you take yourself through that process, which meant that having the business was the answer to those things?
For me, it was about control of my destiny. And that sounds really airy fairy almost, but it genuinely, I had worked for the, say, for the 5 years previous to opening this business, I'd worked for three different people, and all three of them I'd been in the job no more than 2 years, and the job had ended, or something had gone wrong and I couldn't be in the job anymore. And it was like, okay, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep working for other people and having them pull the rug out from under me or make a decision that I don't like, that affects my life. So I just thought, okay, for me, I'm more in control when I'm doing my own thing, and it's on my terms. And that sometimes that means it's harder work, or it's longer hours, or but the control is important to me.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's almost like the controls led to you to have your own business, because you have a bit more control when you do that versus if you're working for somebody else.
Exactly. And that's not to say you can't work for somebody else and make your own hours, or decide on the projects that you want to work on, or you can have a really good relationship with your superiors. And, I know there are people who are employed in the most amazing, fantastic, flexible, wonderful jobs. Yes, for me, that didn't seem to be an option, or anytime I tried to make that happen, it wasn't happening. So it just felt like it was easier for me to do it myself rather than go and find that working for someone else. I know that won't be the case for everybody, but for me, I think I've been really lucky. And I hate to use the word lucky, because it's not luck, it's good decision making and it's hard graft. But you could say I've been really lucky that it's worked for me.
Awesome. Yeah, it seems like something that has paid off anyway. Is this something that you'll keep doing? Is this going to be something that you'll use to guide you like into the future as well?
Definitely. I mean, I'm really happy with what I'm doing now. It's strange, honestly, it's strange to find myself in the beauty and aesthetics industry, because it's not an industry I've ever known anything about until very, relatively recently. That's not to say I haven't learnt a ton, and I do know a lot about it now. But if I could talk to my 18 or 20-year-old self and say, you're going to own the number one aesthetics clinic in Northern Ireland, I would laugh in my own face because I barely know anything about how to brush my hair or put on makeup. Like, I'm not a typically girly girl. I'm not typically, I don't, it's not something I've been passionate about, I guess, in my life. So it's interesting to be in this world, and definitely my school and university friends they laugh when, almost when they hear this is what I do now. So.
Oh, I am not surprised.
But I mean, I love it. I love it. But I think what I love is what I've always loved in all the roles I've done, which is working with really talented people. So, I've always, one of a previous employer, a very nice, inspirational entrepreneur told me, always hire people smarter than you. And I've always done that. And so the people I work with are amazing. They're amazingly talented and amazingly skilled. And that is what I love, is working with interesting and smart people, talented people.
That's a very good way of putting it, because it's almost like there's only so much we can do by ourselves, and if we can hire people that are skilled or at least better than us at the things that we need
That's
to
it.
make our business work, then they'll take it further than we ever could, which means the business will go further than we could take it by ourselves. I'm quite like
Absolutely.
that.
You got to take the ego out of it, because it's not about you at the end of the day. You can't, there are very, very few people who can do it all by themselves. In fact, I don't know if there is anybody. And I think surrounding yourself with good, smart, talented, interesting people is the way to do it. They say it takes a village to raise a child. It's the same thing. Like, you can't do it all. There's no person that has all the skills for everything. Right. I mean, not to say there aren't great single parents. Yes, of course there are. And there are great solo entrepreneurs. Yes, of course there are. But things are better in a team, I think, combining your skills for the greater good.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that's worked for yourself. It seems to be something that's paid off massively, particularly with the baby on the way. You had to, you had to come up with something, didn't you? I mean, just as a bit of a round off, how did you manage to pull that off?
I honestly don't know. My mum, she tells the story of when I had to go into hospital to be induced, and so I was in the induction bay on my laptop, high on morphine, and she says she remembers, like the builders who were refurbishing the building at that point calling me and me on the phone on the laptop, high on morphine, and her being like, "Jenny, you are a crazy," and she's like, "Please put the phone down." But that's what I did. That's how I made it work. I mean, I suppose parenting is also something that's really important to me. I want my girl to have the best start in life, and breastfeeding has been really important to me, and we've maintained that throughout me working full time, and that's a whole other story about how I've managed to make that work. But I've made it work. I've made both things work because I have great partners. I have a fantastic life partner and I have a fantastic business partner. I understand and I recognize that I can't do it all on my own. I am smart enough to say that, to know that, and I'm humble enough to say, yeah, I need help. I'm pretty self-aware, and I'm not afraid to ask for help, but I'm not too afraid to admit to my failings or to the bits that I can't do as well as other people can. And I think once I got over myself, life was a lot easier in a way. So I think a lot in my younger days, I would not have said that. And I think a lot of younger, keen, ambitious entrepreneurs and all these people that are on The Apprentice, they're like, yeah, I can do it all. I'm amazing. I'm brilliant. Yes, maybe you are. But at the same time, hold your hand up if you make a mistake, and hold your hand up and go, this is the thing that I'm not good at. So these are the things I am good at, but here's the gaps that I've got. So can you help me fill those gaps? Yeah, I think the world would be a better place if we could all accept and it's not bad, and I don't think it's a negative thing, and it's not a flaw in your character to say that you need help. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, one of the things that I sort of say to people sometimes is, just because we're different doesn't necessarily mean that one of us is better than the other. It's just that we're different at different things. We're better at some things than others, and that doesn't mean that someone's not better than us at something as well. So it kind of balances itself out in some ways. We're good at some things, and we are particularly bad at others, which is where finding people that are good at the things that we're bad at is something that we should probably strive to achieve anyway.
Well, my current business is a perfect example. There's myself and my business partner, Jillian. She is a highly skilled, highly qualified laser and skin expert. She does all the legal compliance. She writes all the protocols. She knows how to do the treatments. She gets these amazing results for people with their skin who are really suffering with various conditions. And she does that day in, day out, and it's fabulous. I sit on the other side. I build the website. I make the posters. I design the flyers. I do all the business development. I get the partnerships with the brands. So we have a very, very complementary skill set. And I couldn't do what she does, and she couldn't do what I do. But together, we have an award-winning, amazing clinic. So it does take a team. But we're both smart enough to go, yeah, you stick to what you're good at, I'll stick to what I'm good at, and together we'll have an amazingly brilliant business and a successful business.
What's the future like for yourself, Jenny? I mean, where do you see your life going? Where do you see your business going? And I've actually thought about what the future is for you.
We do, yeah, I do think about it, and then I think I need to. Where we are right now, I'm happy. We've only been here 2 years. It'll be easy to sit back and go, "Oh, things are going great. That's awesome." But I think we have a bit more work to do just to make sure we're comfortable. We're really happy. We're hiring at the moment. It's great to be expanding. I don't see my current business like franchising or opening other multiple locations. I think we're really happy with where we are. We're in a nice location with lots of space that we can grow into. I'd like to be in a place where my current business is sustaining itself, that will maybe allow me in 5 years to go and look at doing something else, or working with a different type of entrepreneur, or or I don't know. I'm not sure yet what my next move is, but I am not the type of person that I guess will just sit back and relax. I'm trying to think of an industry I haven't been in yet. So where can I go to next? I'm not sure, but I think I'm always open to possibilities. I like interesting conversations. I like meeting interesting people. So I'm confident that at some point something will spark my interest, and I'll have a look at it. But I think it's maybe 5 years down the road from where I am now. So for the next 5 years, it's getting my girl in school. It's getting the business a bit more stable, a bit more sustainable, and maybe taking a couple more holidays.
Yes, that sounds like at least a good plan, particularly after the journey that you shared with us today. Before we get to the last question, how could people find out a bit more about yourself, Jennie? So where can people go to find out about you and what you've got going on?
Well, my clinic website is beyondskinclinic.com. That doesn't necessarily have a lot of information about me, but I guess if you Google me, you'll find me. My name is Jennie Wallace. When you do look for me, there's various things that come up from all the various bits and bobs I've done in my life. I am on LinkedIn as well, so you can connect with me there if you wish. I'm always happy to have a conversation.
All right, sounds good. Well, last question for you, Jennie, and I ask all my guests this. So we've had funny questions to serious questions to everything in between. And the last question is, what would you like the world to know about you that it doesn't already know?
Oh, that's a really good question. What does the world not know about me? Wow, I think the world knows so much about me already. Like, I am like as I say, if you Google me, you will find information, but what is something that people don't know? Oh my goodness, you've stumped me, Michael. You've stumped me. The world doesn't, do you know what the world doesn't know? The world doesn't know what I've got to offer, actually, and that's kind of sad. Like all those people that took me at face value, that looked at my CV and said, "We don't know where to place you." I think the world underestimated me. So that's what the world does. The world doesn't know what I'm capable of yet. There you go. That's a good one.
Well, that is an amazing way to end, Jennie. So those of you that are listening, make sure you subscribe and check out the other guests. Jennie, thanks for being a guest on the show. I appreciate you carving the time out, and I'm sure we'll keep in touch.
Thanks.